Hello and welcome. Today we are have come back with a new topic, that is genome sequencing. It's something related to DNA, right? So in today's session, we'll try to understand what is DNA, what is genome, and what is genome sequencing, and why it's important. Because see, most of the time, whatever we are discussing, it is highly relevant to UPSC and civil services examination, right? Therefore, what we see is a lot of articles are coming up in news, and therefore we need to know what's happening in the news. So this is also a topic belonging to science and technology, and from an event or from news that has appeared recently, right? So we'll proceed with this. So first of all, we'll be seeing the news. See, recently what we see is there was a news. Gujarat launches India's first tribal genome project, right? Again, the reason is to tackle the inherited diseases. Okay, so the tribal genome sequencing project initiative by the government to sequence the genomes of 2000 people. Now, what is this sequencing? What is this genome sequencing project, right? And genomes of 2000 people are being collected, that too related to tribal communities in the Gujarat state. So we'll understand all these things. The news is a very recent occurrence, that is July 17, 2025. So we are discussing very hot topics currently in news, and again the background information and other important aspects related to this particular topic. Right. Next, before actually understanding what is genome, we need to understand few basic terms, right? First, we'll understand what is DNA. Okay, so DNA, as many of us know, it's a deoxyribonucleic acid, right? It's a deoxyribonucleic acid. The full form is, okay, it is the molecule of life. DNA is considered as the molecule of life, right? So why? Because it carries all the instructions needed for an organism to grow. It's a code, it's a formula, it's a program. It's having all the instructions for an organism to grow, to function, and to reproduce. And that's what is the main thing of living organisms, right? Like see, DNA can be assumed as a very long instruction manual, right? It's an instruction manual, like a program, an instruction, a set of code, right? This is written using 4 letters. So what is it? Just see, when we see the digital technology, when we see the softwares, coding, all these things happen only in 2 letters, 2 alphabets, that is 10101100, something like that. So it's a digital technology. But coming to DNA, right, the DNA sequencing or the DNA instructions are written using 4 letters. What are these 4 letters? Is like A, which represents adenine, T, which represents thymine, C, which represents cytosine, and G, which represents guanine. So these letters pair in a specific way, right? A with T, C with G, such type of specific formations are found inside a DNA. So DNA is shaped like a twisted ladder called double helix. You can see here, twisted ladder. So one strand is going like this, and the another strand is going like this. This is something called as a twisted ladder, or can be considered as a double helix structure. And these 4 things, right, these 4 letters you can observe here, right? Adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, and these are placed here, you can see, inside the double helix structure in some sort of combinations. So this particular structure is generally referred to as a DNA, right? Next, we'll see what is a gene. Now once we understood what is a DNA, now let's go and understand gene, right? So a gene is a specific segment of DNA. So within DNA, some specific segment is something called as a gene, right? It contains the instructions to make a particular protein, okay? A particular protein, right? It's so gene is part of DNA. Each gene is a chapter in the instruction manual, because see, just before we have tried to understand DNA in the forms of an instruction manual. So in that instruction manual, there might be many chapters. So gene is something like a chapter in the instruction manual, right? Proteins made from these genes perform most of the work in the body. So every gene is responsible for creation of some sort of protein which function for building muscles, fighting infections, etc. So typically humans have around 20,000 to 25,000 genes. So you can see here it's a DNA strand, right? This bit can be considered as one gene, this can be considered as another gene, this can be considered as another gene, right? This gene is producing this protein, this gene is responsible for this protein, and it is responsible for this protein, and all these proteins combinedly form to grow and develop a living organism, right? I hope you got the idea of what gene is. Now trying to understand further concepts like genome, right? What is a genome? A genome is a complete set of DNA in an organism. So every organism, there are living cells. In those cells there are DNAs. In those DNAs there are variety of genes. So whatever all the different types of genes are available in a single organism, the different types of genes in a single organism, complete set, that complete set is called a genome of that particular organism, right? It includes all of its genes. It contains all the information needed to build and maintain that particular organism. Got it? Every organism has a specific set of genes. That entire set is called a genome, okay, which are needed to build and maintain that particular organism. In humans, the genome has about 3 billion base pairs of DNA. So in humans, like if you consider human as an organism, so human beings throughout the world, if we see totally, what we can observe is there are 3 billion base pairs of DNA in different types of human beings belonging to different places or geographical zones, climatic conditions, right? Now every cell except the red blood cell in your body contains a copy of entire genome. It's a code, set of code, every cell, and this has to be remembered, except the red blood cells, right? Everything contains a genome, that is set of all the DNA, right? You can see in the diagram chromosome. So these are genes, different DNA strands, and all the different varieties of genes or DNAs in a particular organism can be considered as the genome. Right, now I hope the concept of genome is clear, right? Gene and set of all the genes is called as a genome. Now what is sequencing? Let's see, I'm trying to explain all the basics. Hope this will make the entire concept clear to you, right? So now what is sequencing? Sequencing means reading the exact order of the DNA letters. So we have understood DNA. Within that there is gene. All the set of genes is called as a genome. But when you try to read it in the order wise, right? Reading in exact order of the DNA, that particular thing in a particular region, right? DNA sequencing which is available in a particular region is something called as a sequencing. It is like reading the lines and letters in the instruction manual. So we have seen DNA is an instruction manual Within that instruction manual, chapters are like genes. Combination of all the chapters can be considered as a genome. But when you start reading it, right, in a proper way, right, see, if you read a story, if you read the end line first and the first line in the end, you might not understand the story. If you read it somewhere from between the pages, you might not understand, you might not get a clear picture of what's happening in the story. So therefore, you have to read it from the beginning, and to know where the beginning is, to know what's the second para is, to know what the third para is, and in that continuation to know everything and to place everything in a proper order is something called as sequencing. So scientists are using machines to determine this particular order. By reading this order, we understand how genes work, and if there are any errors or mutations that is happening within the genes. I hope you are getting the concept, right? Because only if we read the instruction manual from start to begin completely, we can grasp the idea. That's what was the point that is being delivered over here. Hope you got it, right? Then now coming to the actual concept of genome sequencing. I hope you got all the basics clear over here. Now coming to this particular concept of genome sequencing, you see, it is the process of reading the entire DNA sequence of an organism's genome from starting till end. What is it? Reading the entire DNA is something of an organism's genome. Genome is all set of genes. Reading it in a particular order is sequencing, right? Arranging in sequence and then reading it. Genome sequencing, right? From start to the end, complete till the end. It is like scanning the entire instruction book. Sequence is simply reading, but genome sequencing completely can be understood as scanning the book, making a copy of it, right? To know exactly what is written in every line and every page. Now this helps the scientists in finding genetic variations, understand diseases, develop personalized medicine and much more. So once a genome is being understood, scientists can understand the variations, where the problem is coming up, and which type of gene is responsible for what type of disease. And personalized treatments can be given. If a gene is understood, then personalized treatment can also be given. Right? You can see in the image the way sequencing is done, the way set of codes are being written. Right? Now this was something in a very simple sense, genome sequencing, just for your understanding. Right? I hope you understood the whole concept. Now we'll see the other way, other definition or other actual way of understanding genome sequencing. Right? Now coming or summing up what we have learned till now, we can say genome sequence is a laboratory technique used to determine complete DNA sequence. Right? It is used to determine the complete DNA sequence of an organism's genome at a single time. Right? It involves decoding the exact order of 4 chemical bases that we have already seen: adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine, that make up the entire DNA. This information acts like a blueprint containing all the instructions necessary for the structure, function, regulation of an organism's cells and its tissues. So making a complete copy of it. Genome sequencing reads the entire genome, which is offering a much broader and deeper view of an organism's genetics. There is something called as genome typing as well. Genome typing is different. That genome typing gives a very smaller perspective, but genome sequencing gives a larger perspective, complete picture of the genome. Hope you got it. Next, if we understand this entire concept in a simple analogy, it can be stated like this. If DNA is an alphabet, right, a gene can be understood as a sentence, and the genome can be understood as a full book. Sequencing is like reading the letters. Genome sequencing is reading the whole book from beginning till the end. So just to make a broader view of understanding, this analogy can be said. Now here DNA is said as an alphabet. Why alphabet? Because earlier we have seen the 4 letters, 4 codes. The order of those codes has to be understood. Therefore, here we see alphabet. Here we compare it with an alphabet. Right? Hope you got it. Now we have to discuss the actual topic. What is happening in India? What the Gujarat government is doing? Where do we stand in the international arena? What type of other projects related to genome are being conducted in India? Now, we'll also have to see the importance of genome sequencing, right? What is the importance? What is the helpful? What is the usefulness of doing such an activity? So first thing is the medical applications. It helps in understanding genetic disorders. It helps in diagnosing the treatment of various diseases like cancer, diabetes, and rare genetic conditions. It also facilitates precision or personalized medicine. Then again, in public health also we see it plays a crucial role in tracking the evolution of pathogens. Means see, instead of detecting the diseases after they occur, if we know the genome, if we know the gene of a particular person, it can be predicted at very early stage that okay, in future you can have or you can get these diseases. So as prevention is better than cure, preventive measures can be taken so that the particular person will not be affected with the disease in future. Therefore, we can study the evolution of pathogens. It also aids in managing epidemics and pandemics through surveillance. Right? Recently, we have seen the COVID pandemic. Again, in agriculture as well, agriculture, animal husbandry, we see the genome sequencing of plants, right? Genome sequencing of various types of vegetative, organisms helps in the crop improvement. Identifying genes for disease-resistant or drought-tolerant crops can be made, right? By altering the gene, right? We can make the particular crop resistant to different types of diseases. It can enhance animal breeding programs by mapping useful traits, right? Because see, population explosion is happening throughout the world, and there are a lot of people. Now, the world has to feed a lot of people. Therefore, there is a need for technology, right? See, technology is the reason for population explosion, or whatever the advancements that are happening in one way are responsible for popular explosion. And again, the same technology also has to give the solutions for these particular problems that mankind is facing today. So therefore, in agriculture and animal husbandry also we see there is a huge potential for genome sequencing. Then coming next, we have evolution and anthropology as well, right? Into because of human genome sequencing, we can have the idea of human evolution, right? Migration patterns, population diversity, and how different people in different parts of the world are getting affected. So it's a wide range of importance. Now coming to India, what we see, genome sequencing in India. What India has done. India has made a significant progress. Now we can see, cataloging the genetic variations in the Indians. So it refers to the genome for India, right? A national genome sequencing project to sequence 10,000 Indians. Genome India, if we see, what is the Genome India, right? Disease gene identification. Catalog all the genetic variations in Indians to help identify diseases causing genes. So India is not behind, right? Capacity building and networking. We are also training a lot of people in India, right? Trained manpower to handle large genetic data and sets and other resources and institutions in India. Genetic basis for adverse effects and response to drugs. Drugs is like medicines. What type of medicine and what type of response the body is giving to that particular medicine. Right? This can help in understanding why some people respond to some drugs, but some people develop some sort of reaction. Right? Resources for larger and cheaper genetic studies, because a lot of manpower is required, it has to be made cheaper. So government is trying to do a lot in this particular scenario. Right? What are the key projects that India has taken up in this particular scenario? First thing is, we have a human genome project. This is called as HGP, but it's an international effort. A lot of countries worldwide are part of this, and India is also part of this particular project. Right? Although not specific to India, it's a global initiative. It's actually completed in 2003 itself. Right? It laid the foundation. Indian scientists contributed and even expanded through national efforts. It's a whole different topic, human genome project. Right? The other project is IndiGen project. This IndiGen project was launched in 2019 by CSIR Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. Right? CSIR is a very important institute. You need to know that. And apart from that, there is IGIB, that is Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology. Then again CCMB, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. Right? All these things, we see the project is aimed to sequence the genomes of thousands of Indians to create an Indian reference genome. Right? That's the aim. Over 1,000 Indian genomes have been sequenced under this particular project. It helps in identifying unique Indian genetic variations. Right? What are the various factors, or what is the uniqueness that can be seen in the Indian genes or genomes. Therefore, understanding the disease risk in Indian populations. So what are the type, how much of population and what type of diseases they are susceptible to, that can be understood, and such type of treatments can be developed in advance. Next, Genome India project. Right? There is another project called as Genome India project. It was launched in 2020, very recently. Right? It's led by Department of Biotechnology. What is the objective of this particular project? Is to collect 10,000 genetic samples from citizens across India. Now earlier only 1,000, now 10,000 genetic samples, to build a comprehensive genome database. Now collaborators, if we see, over 20 institutions including Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru, AIIMS, right, All India Institute of Medical Science, and IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies, and more. And a lot of institutions are involved here. It's expected to contribute significantly to personalized medicine. So India is not behind in comparison to other countries. Therefore, personalized medicine is is possible, is happening today, and also it's highly possible in future, highly possible, so that a lot of people can avail this particular feature. Again, rare disease diagnosis can also be done, and again pandemic preparedness. Next, we see the COVID-19 genome surveillance. Right? Indian SARS-CoV-2 genomic consortium, that is something called as INSAC-CoG. Right? Indian SARS, SARS, I hope you know, South Asian Respiratory Syndrome. SARS is called as. So CoV is like COVID. SARS-CoV-2 Genomics Consortium, that is INSAC-CoG. It was established in 2020, again after the COVID-19 pandemic had come. A network of 52 labs to monitor genomic variations and even to monitor the coronavirus were established. It helped in tracking the spread of the Delta, Omicron, and other variants in India. See, we've been listening to this, right, in the past. When COVID had come, after that we saw a Delta variant of the COVID. Then again a delta variant of the COVID by the name Omicron. Later on in 20s we have seen this, 2020s. Then it demonstrated how genome sequencing can be used in a real-time public health response. So this particular organization has demonstrated the that if genome sequencing is done, it can help in real-time public health response, which is highly necessary, right? So after this we see various institutions, because a lot of time in UPSC questions are coming up. They give you the name of the institutions and places they are located or what type of work they do. You need to get to some match the following questions, or might be statement based questions are also coming up. Therefore you need to know a small basic data regarding the various institutes. Right now, understanding this, what are the various institutes? India has developed infrastructure and bioinformatic capabilities. We are not dependent on any foreign institutions to do this work. What are the organizations? CSIR, like some Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Its headquarter is in New Delhi. The next we have something called as DBT, that is Department of Biotechnology. Again, Ministry of Science and Technology, this is highly important. Department of Biotechnology comes under Ministry of Science and Technology, again located in New Delhi. IGIB, just before we have seen it. It's a part of CSIR and located in New Delhi itself. Again, CCMB, we have just seen. Again, it's a CSIR institute only, but it is located in Hyderabad, Telangana. Right, then we have NCBS, National Center for Biological Sciences. It's part of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research and it is located in Bengaluru, Karnataka. Right, again IGIB, just we have seen it, it's located in New Delhi. Right, hope you are getting this. And apart from government resources, there are a lot of private companies who are working into it. The companies like Map My Genome and MedGenome, they're also contributing through various direct to consumer genetic testings and research collaborations. So public institutions as well as private institutions are catering to this particular need. Next, what are the recent developments and challenges in this? What we see is the expansion of personalized medicine. Right, Indian genome data will lead to better disease prediction. See, what is happening is that, recently a lot of challenges are coming up, because personalized medicine can be provided, that's okay, but expansion is required, that's a challenge. A common man has to get it, right? Therefore, Indian genome data, if collected, if sequenced, it will definitely lead to this particular disease prediction and drug response understanding. Again, there are some concerns called as ethical and privacy concerns. Like if entire genome data is being copied, right, then there are privacy concerns, like your personal data. Let's say if you are giving your bank details, Aadhaar, to some organization, what if it is being misused? So there are ethical concerns, there are privacy concerns. If somebody knows your personal data, they can hack into it. Similarly, the same problems are also with the DNA or the sequencing technology. Therefore, data protection laws and informed consent protocols. So before collecting the genes of a particular person, his consent is highly required, right? Therefore, such protocols are necessary to safeguard the genetic information. Then again, underrepresentation in global database. Most genomic studies are biased towards Western populations, like people from Europe, people from US. Therefore, there is a need to balance it. So there are a lot of imbalances. So whatever Indian initiatives are there, they help to correct this particular imbalance. Then need for a skilled workforce, trained personnel in genetics, bioinformatics and data analytics are crucial for scaling the genome research in India. So manpower is also a challenge, trained manpower, right? See, All these things guide people, even students who want to pursue their graduation or who want to pursue their post graduation. They can prefer such areas because it's highly in future such trained personnel are highly required. So once you understand this, if there are possibilities in your graduation as well as in post graduation, you can opt such kind of subjects. Then again, coming to the original news, we have seen that in Gujarat, some project has been started that is related to the tribal genome sequencing. Now, what is that project, right? And how India is going forward with it, because it's a very recent thing that had happened. But we have just seen the news related to that. So what we see is that Gujarat has become the first Indian state to initiate a genome sequencing project. Now, state-wise, see, as a country, India is doing a lot, but state governments getting involved into it, and state governments starting their own, such projects is something new. So Gujarat has become the first state in India to do so, right? Again, this project is exclusively for tribal communities. Currently, government has initiated it, that too with a focus on the tribal communities. Now, the tribal genome sequencing project aims to sequence the genomes of 2000 individuals from tribal populations across 17 districts of the state. So Gujarat is having 17 districts. So across all the districts, the project, wherever tribal people are there, around 2000 individuals belonging to different places, their genome data is being collected, right? Again, it is implemented by Gujarat Biotechnology Research Center. It's again an important statement. So even though Gujarat government has taken steps to it, who is going to implement it? That is the Gujarat Biotechnology Research Center. The project title is Creation of Reference Genome and Database for Tribal Population. It is included in the 2025 to 26 state budget. This is a second important thing, right? In the recent budget, the state budget they have announced, and it is also included in the particular budget, right? So what are the key objectives with this particular project? What is it that Gujarat government wants to do? So we can see early detection and treatment of genetic disorders like sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, and hereditary cancers. So this is what Gujarat government wants to do, specifically targeting on sickle cell anemia, because see, a lot of time we see tribal people are affected with these diseases. So if there is a genetic order pertaining to such, because see, if you find the genes and genetic disorder is there, then in coming future generations it can be treated. So sickle cell anemia, thalassemia, and again a lot of hereditary cancers. Now hereditary cancer is something like it goes on for generations, from grandfather to father, or from father to daughter, or to granddaughter, or to grandsons, from grandmothers or mothers. It goes on. There is a hereditary. So see, why to wait till a person gets cancer? If there is a hereditary problem, if fathers and grandfathers are having it, then it can be beforehandedly treated. So hereditary cancers. Now Gujarat government is focusing on that as well. Next, use of genetic data to identify markers for natural immunity. Again, we have to boost the natural immunity. Even during the COVID pandemic, what were people doing? They were trying to boost their immunity. They were trying to take vitamin C tablets or foods that are highly rich in vitamin C, like orange, pineapple, grapes, and other such fruits. Because why? People wanted to improve the natural immunity. No type of medicines were working during the COVID period. A lot of doctors were struggling a lot. Now, in all such situations, if you have a high self immunity, then you can be definitely protected from various diseases. Therefore, to use this particular genetic data, so Gujarat government wants to collect the data and use this data to identify markers for natural immunity, and how can natural immunity be boosted, and how and how the development of a personalized healthcare solutions can happen. Again, Gujarat government also wants to build advanced infrastructure for sample collection. See, with this particular project, infrastructure is also required, right? So, government wants to build advanced infrastructure for what? Sample collection, sequencing, and also analysis of that particular data which was collected. These are the objectives. Then coming to the broader goal, right? This particular initiative of the government is seeking to bridge tradition and science. See, tribal people are closely connected to the nature. A lot of tribal traditions are preserved. They have various natural treatments. A lot of time in tribal people we see they are immune, because even COVID also affected urban people have suffered. People in the rural areas or people in the tribal areas, we have seen that they were relatively very less affected to the COVID. That means they have some sort of high immunity because they live very close to nature. Therefore, this tradition, the traditional knowledge that they have, or that the genome that they have, if you try to understand it, that can definitely act as a bridge between tradition and science, right? And therefore, with this, they can empower the tribal communities through precision healthcare and improve the long term outcomes using the advanced biotechnology, right? So, this is the goal of the Indian government. So, I hope this explanation would be would be very helpful in both point of views, in prelims point of view as well as in the mains point of view, right? Hope you have understood the topic. I wish you all the best and thank you with